And before we go today, time for some reaction from a Chinese cartoonist to the increasing role of the internet in spreading news in China and leaks that sometimes embarrass certain parties, particularly government officials. Our cartoonist today is Kwang Biao. This comes via the Hong Kong University China Media Project. It's also on his website, and it's Kwang Biao's version of that famous picture, The Last Supper. We've got Jesus in red and purple there in the centre, and the figures of the apostles there, all in their respective places. The remains of a good meal left over on the plates on the table, and the central character, Jesus, saying something along the lines of, "Okay, guys, who leaked what we ate to the internet?" And if you look carefully at the picture there, in the position of Judas is a guilty-looking character, but in place of that incriminating bag in the original picture by Da Vinci is a cell phone, it appears. So this commentary by Kwang Biao on the increased role of the internet in spreading news, sometimes rumours passed off as news, but certainly information in China, particularly perhaps one particular source of information that's become hugely popular in China is Weibo. That's a sort of a service, something like Twitter with some aspects of Facebook in it, which is used by many people to post what they're doing, but it spreads very, very quickly, and it has been used in many cases to break news stories. Indeed, an example, the one we mentioned earlier there, that gentleman, Li Dejin, who tried to, in the old-fashioned way, spike or kill a story which he didn't like, which he felt wasn't going to be helpful to his career. Now, in the pre-Weibo, indeed perhaps the pre-internet times, that would have been fairly easy. Very strong control over newspapers, magazines, and the classical or the normal media would have meant simply the story never went out. But the fact that it was tweeted by another journalist, it went around so quickly that by the time, if anybody did want to kill the story, it was too late. It was widely known, and indeed the official press actually joining in the condemnation of that. Another example was a mother sent to a labour camp. That's a sort of a non-judicial punishment form by a local government in China. She had actually been complaining over what she felt was too lenient punishment against people who, some men who raped her daughter, and the complicity of the local police. Normally she would have disappeared into that camp system and would not have been heard again until she was released maybe some years later. In this case, it again went wild on the internet, went viral on the internet. Eventually she was released, and now indeed that whole system is under review. Before, indeed, in China, these stories did get about, but they were generally whispered to people that you would know or you would trust within the family, within the group, would never make it into the official press, and the control of that official press was fairly complete. That's not to say that in today's electronic media and the use of Weibo, and indeed another system, Weixin, which is a messaging system, it's not to say that these are not free of censorship. Tens of thousands, indeed some estimates are hundreds of thousands of people are employed by the government in checking these sites, blocking words when they come up, and indeed it can be seen on a daily basis when a word is considered particularly sensitive. The word can't be searched for within these conversations, but that censorship is not perfect. It's a lot slower, and very, very quickly these news stories can spread to the point where there's a tipping point. The public awareness is virtually universal, and there's no point in hiding the story anymore. And Kwang Biao's picture here emphasising that, showing that in this case the apostles haven't even finished the meal, or just finished the meal, and already the news is out on the internet. And the fact that a meal is used here by Kwang Biao in the picture, referencing perhaps the fact that many of the complaints of people against abuse of power tends to do with over-expenditure on things like entertainment, meals, travel, and so on. Also perhaps mirroring the fact that that in-group, the elite, the golden circle in China, who have access to money and power, are the ones who tend to benefit from these, and also are the ones who are in danger when one of these stories is released, and the fall is quite precipitous. So that is the take of Kwang Biao, comparing with that interesting cartoon, that famous picture, The Last Supper by Da Vinci.